welcome to another episode of Design and Influence. This is me, Alex, and him, Boris. We're going to help you decide today whether to hire your next IT provider as a remote company or someone local in your backyard. We, as Arc IT, support a lot of customers. We specifically focus on architecture, design, and engineering firms. We have a lot of local customers we support, and we have a lot of nationwide customers who we support completely remotely. So what we'll give you today is top 5 IT issues that you're facing, your company definitely has faced or will be facing, and with whether you need a remote or local help to solve that issue. Boris, welcome to this cast. How the heck is your day, sir?
My day is going great, sir, huh? All right. Yes, sir.
Punch that right in. All right, let me just put together. And Boris, CEO and founder of Arc IT, has been doing IT for 22 years. What? How long?
Or more.
More.
I lost count.
We're not dating ourselves anymore. We're in a different state of career. It's more like we're trying to have less years instead of more, because there's a lot. Anyways, top 5 issues your architecture, engineering, design company is having. And we can dive right into them and talk about remote solutions versus local IT solutions and help you choose how to hire your next IT provider. Okay. Number 1, software not working as expected. I'm just going to rattle them out and then we're going to go dive in. Okay. So software is not working as expected. Number 1. Number 2, installing, updating a program. Okay. New program or updating existing program to a new version. Hardware issues, Wi-Fi, internet issues. And the last one, number 5, is users onboarding and offboarding. When you hire people leave, whatever. So those are the top 5 that we've looked through our queues for years and years of supporting clients. These are the type 5 issues. More likely than not, it's going to be 95% of everything that you have to deal with, unless it's move or some other bigger project, moving to cloud, those kinds of things. We can talk at the end. But those are your top 5 issues. Boris, let's start with number 1. Do you need someone locally to come there and sit and breathe, right into your ear, over your shoulder, and help you solve software when software is not working as expected? That's number 1.
The short answer is no. All of the software issues can be solved remotely in our experience, anyways. If you have a software issue where you can't launch your software, your Revit, your ArchiCAD, what have you, your Office 365 or, any other application on your computer. We can solve those issues by simply you calling us or sending us an email, and we can log into your machine, take a look at the problem, troubleshoot it right away, and get you back up and running as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and I've actually personally experienced this multiple times because one of my other companies uses Arc IT as a service, and it's very simple. Call support. They will pipe into your computer and do the magic required to get things back operational. And software issues can be resolved that way. Is it all of them, or have you actually come across a case where you need someone on site for anything related to software breakages?
So some of the, I would say, older architectural and engineering software for licensing require hardware keys. So that could be a component where a key needs to be inserted into the workstation itself or into a server. So somebody needs to physically do that. That is a very, very low percentage currently, as most customs or most AEC software have migrated to a cloud-based licensing model. But we do see those keys from time to time. And it's just a matter of, asking the person to make sure that the key is inserted into their machine.
There you have it. Let me summarize. If you have some of the legacy architecture, specific design software and such that requires hardware key, you may need someone to pop in and help you out with that. Otherwise, if you're in the cloud, like most people are, remote is all you need. All right. Number 1 in the books. Number 2, installing or updating new programs, new software. Talk to me about that.
So this one is very similar to the previous one. Again, as long as the machine is connected to the internet and we have remote access to the machine, we're able to do it quickly. For architecture and engineering specific software, we have pre-deployed packages that, make it easy for us to push the software out and push the updates out. So instead of like taking a couple of hours to maybe install, full-fledged Revit install, it takes us less than 20 minutes because we already have those packages and are doing it for all of our other customers. So we can actually push the software remotely without you even knowing that it's being installed. And then you come in the next morning and voila, you have your brand new program.
Excellent. Other opportunity or other chances, other situations where you need someone on site to update and or install new software?
I'm going to say no, not at this time. All the software can be downloaded and pushed remotely. There's no more CDs that need to be put in or anything like that. So in today's day and age, that's a solved problem.
Yeah, no CDs to be pushed in. Remember those days? Hey, I grew up on the floppy disks. Did you?
Yes, you did.
In fact, cassettes. I take that back. I grew up on cassettes. You put a cassette in a cassette player and load up a game.
That was back. I think
my dad actually programmed on cards, so that's how far we go. Anyway, number 2, completely remote. Your remote IT provider will be able to solve that, no problem. Don't need somebody local. Now, number 3 can be tricky. Let's see if it is or it is not. It's hardware issues. We're talking printing issues. We're talking breakages. We're talking blue screens. We're talking laptop not functioning. Talk to me about
that. So there's definitely subcategories to this. A lot of time when it's an issue with hardware itself, we can still solve it remotely, but there's a little bit more involvement from the person or the business owner, right? And we do preach having a support plan from a hardware manufacturer, and we have another video about that we should probably link in here. And that allows us to solve those types of issues, A, remotely, and B, quickly. So what would normally happen is, if you get a blue screen or you get continuous blue screens, we would do remote troubleshooting. We would run diagnostics on the machine, and then we'd send those diagnostic results to the manufacturer. And the manufacturer can then provide us the next steps and guidance for solving this issue.
And if the organization we're helping does not have a support plan, they'll have to pay. They'll have to pay directly to the manufacturer, as well as be part of their normal IT. I mean, I'm assuming we're part of their normal IT solution, but they'll have to pay to the manufacturer for the time they take to do this, right? Troubleshooting.
Yeah, especially if it's hardware. If it's a hardware issue, then they'll also have to pay for replacement of parts. But going back to whether we can solve it remotely or not, usually the process would be we try to do as much as possible remotely. We connect with the manufacturer, and that is one of the reasons why we not just encourage, but also kind of require everybody to have the support plan, is that we can send a technician. The manufacturer will send a technician the next business day to your customer site, whether it's your home or your office, and they will be able to then replace the part and, or troubleshoot the issue further without your IT provider needing to be physically there.
Yeah. Do take a look at this article that we put, this video, this episode, we actually taped it at AAA show in Monterey, and it is all about, whether you should get a warranty or support plan for your business computers. There's some good thinking there involved, but our recommendation essentially is yes, because you get that problem resolved. Even if you have your local hardware person walk into your shop to troubleshoot your blue screen, they need parts. It's still going to take days. It's not going to matter. It's that person there physically won't be able to fix it without parts. So it's going to be a whole jigamaroo figuring that out. So
jigamaroo, huh? Okay.
Jigamaroo. Yeah. So it's hardware issues. In most cases can be solved remotely. If you have a support plan, that's like a bonus plus. But other issues like printing issues. What do you say about that?
So most printing issues come from software. There isn't really a physical component to looking at the printer unless your toner ran out or the paper jam or paper got stuck. And in that case, most architecture firms, all of the firms we work with have contracts with printing providers like ARC or ABC or
Very creative names.
Yeah. Absolutely. Or Bayprint Solutions. I mean, there's a few providers that are kind of large enough and nationwide. So those would be, once we get that call, we would work with that provider to either get a technician out there on site so that they can resolve the printing issue, or send the supplies, or we'll work with the end user to kind of walk them through figuring out where the paper jam is, because we do have remote access to the printer and we can see the statistics on the printer and kind of the errors that are coming up on the printer, so that it's also solved the issue remotely as well.
Very good. Other corner cases where hardware issues lead into on-site and on-site only kind of help?
Yeah, I'm going to say that there's always going to be outliers. For example, I can't think of any right now, but there's always going to be outliers. But in that case, I think one of the strategies that we have implement is, if we can solve that issue remotely, we have a spare hardware on site that can be easily configured for that person, so they can use it while we either come and pick up a laptop, or they can ship the laptop back to us, or ship the laptop to the manufacturer, so they can do deeper troubleshooting. So there's really outlier cases where it's like none of the troubleshooting steps that either ourselves or manufacturer has performed have net a result. In that case, it requires deeper investigation, and then we would give somebody a loaner device to use.
Let me summarize your number three ranked problem, most common problem, IT problem on your list. Most of the time, 95% of the time, Boris points out, you don't need somebody on site for hardware printing issues. There are cases that do. The other 4 or 5%, or I guess maybe 10% let me say, you need a physical part, which manufacturer's warranty and no support plan will cover. And either way, if not, you'll have to pay for it, and the manufacturer rep will come out, technician will come out and fix it, and then software can be reconfigured remotely again, and everything is jump started again. The only thing is, there's very, very few corner cases Boris can't even think about right now, but sometimes it just needs you need somebody on site. That's very, very rare. Did I do justice to it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's hit big one. Maybe we should actually rank it, but that's fine. It's already number 4. Wi-Fi internet issues. Boris, do you need people on site to solve Wi-Fi and or internet issues?
I'm going to preface this by saying it depends on the scope of the issue. So, if we take a scope of, I'm a employee of a company and everybody else is working just fine on the internet and has access to the file server, but my machine for some reason does not, we can start working with you and kind of walk you through some basic troubleshooting steps initially to make sure that we isolate the problem. Now, if those troubleshooting steps don't resolve the issue, and because you're not connected to the internet, we can't jump on and look at your screen, then yes, we would then need to send somebody on site. Usually, since it's not a global issue and everybody else is fine, again, there's a loaner device that you can use in the meantime while we either get somebody on site to you, or you can go back to the hardware issues, send the laptop to us, or send if it's a physical computer, we'll definitely go on site. But if it's a laptop, it can be sent to us for further troubleshooting while you're using a loaner device.
Gotcha. Okay. And if it's a global issue where just the whole office is?
Yeah, if the whole office is down, then there are some initial troubleshooting steps that we perform remotely, right? Usually kind of working with, a person in the office just to see, hey, there's power. Are the lights on the equipment? Kind of going through the basic steps, checking our side of things, talking to the internet service provider to make sure it's not an internet outage. Most of the times it comes down to either a power outage or an internet outage. And in that case, once the services are restored, everything comes back up and running. We perform tests remotely, make sure that we can log into everything, make sure that people, we follow up with whoever opened the case, follow up with other people in the office to make sure that everybody has access to everything. So in that case, it's also a remote solution. What may happen though is, a physical device just fails, right? So we do the initial troubleshooting. There's power, but there's no lights on a device that, like a switch, that provides connectivity for your network. So in that case, there's no way for us to troubleshoot anything else remotely. We would most likely have to send somebody on site to look at the switch, to make sure that we could do some workarounds to get people connected in a different way, hopefully, and call the switch in for replacement. In this case, again, having a manufacturer support plan is very important, because if you are working with a reputable manufacturer, all of our switches that we deploy are Cisco switches or Dell switches. They will send you a new switch the next day. So then we would be on site to install it, configure it, and get you back up and running.
Good. What would you say is the realistic percentage of Wi-Fi/internet outages we solve remotely versus we actually had to send somebody on site?
It's hard to put a percentage on it, but what I'm going to say, I don't think we had to go on site for this type of outage at least in the last 2 years.
Wow.
So
virtually 100% is resolved remotely. There'll be, again, corner cases. Right?
Yeah. And I will preface that by saying, because these are our customers and we are proactive enough about talking to them about their hardware and the hardware life cycles and using the correct business grade products, right? So investing into the uptime of your network is an important piece of this. If you invest into the uptime, most likely the network will never go down. Again, there's obviously issues, outlier cases, but as a whole, invest in your network, the network will stay up.
Gotcha. All right. So number 4, Wi-Fi issues, most, if not all, can be solved remotely. Number 5, user onboarding, offboarding. Talk to me about that.
So I'm going to say that this is also a full remote solution. So what we do for our customers, the way the workflow works is, if you have a new person starting, you let us know, hopefully in advance. We procure the hardware. We get the hardware shipped to us. We get the hardware configured, and then get it to your office, also shipped to your office. Or if we need to schedule somebody on site to install it, like if it's a desktop and a couple monitors, we'd go out and install it. And then as the new user starts, the machine is already pre-configured. Now, obviously, there's a piece of some training that needs to happen. So we schedule, half an hour to an hour training with the user to go over the IT systems. That's kind of a part of the training that you should already be having, internally as well, right? So most of the companies or all of the companies we work with have some sort of a process for when the person starts, right? There's an HR person that talks to them. There's, their manager is kind of showing them around and telling them how to use different systems and what the processes and procedures are. So we kind of fall into that space as well. Now, so again, mostly can be done remotely. Sometimes if there's a required installation of hardware, then we would have to come on site.
Gotcha.
But that's something that can be scheduled, and it's not an emergency type thing, right? So we know when a person starts, we know that when somebody needs to come in there and get that stuff done.
Let's come up with one bonus. So 5, and I'll summarize everything. But the bonus is strategy, IT strategy, growth strategy. A lot of our customers are growing, expanding their businesses, moving into new offices, hiring remote employees. So there needs to be a strategic touch on a regular basis to sort of make sure, as you said, the investments are made into the uptime and network, and money are not lost on downtime and breakages. and your customers don't get upset because you don't deliver a project for IT. Your dog ate your homework kind of a thing. So with that said, do you find any value in on-site strategy sessions outside of initial onboarding process?
Do I find value in it? That's a very good question. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to meet all of our customers on site if there's a possibility. But, we live in a world now where it's okay to meet over Zoom, as we're doing right now. And it's okay to have these conversations over Zoom, right? Like 3 years ago, or actually 4 years ago, probably now. Is it 3 years or 4? Doesn't matter. This would probably not be, right? This could be frowned upon in terms of, oh no, we have to be in the same room. But our society moved on to a point where having a remote meeting is just as productive and maybe even better in some ways, and it's more acceptable than it was before.
Yeah, I got you. All right. So to summarize, those of you who are watching, in 95% plus cases, quality remote support that specializes in your industry. I'm gonna say this because we specialize in architecture businesses and engineering as well, and it makes a big difference because we understand the software you run, we understand your tech stack, we understand what your problems are before you even probably call us, and we can help in some meaningful ways. And if you're not in the architecture industry, probably better to pick a provider that specializes in your kind of business rather than somebody, Joe next door that's kind of a generic local IT. However, there are cases where you need someone on site. And for those cases, you need to make sure, it's personal experience, you need to make sure that the company you're hiring has those resources. In our case, ArcIT, we partner with a nationwide company that gives us an opportunity to send a quality person on site anywhere in the country when we need them. It's rare, but they will know what we know, and our guys on our end who understand your account, understand everything about it, will guide that remote person to actually go out there and perform the task we need them to perform, whether it's, evaluate something and reinstall something, put a new switch in, whatever the case is. Any parting words of wisdom, Boris, on this topic?
Yeah, I want to also make sure that we cover the fact that even though we're providing remote support, we do want to go out to your site, especially if we're doing projects, for example. We will send a resource to go out to the site and see what's going on, meet people, and have that initial conversation, whether it's part of onboarding or part of another project. It's not like you don't see us at your office at all, right? So somebody will go out and fly out if needed to be just to meet and greet everybody. But it just doesn't mean that you see us there every week from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., for example. Yeah.
So what it says, an ounce of prevention better than a pound of cure, something like that. This would not be a complete show if I didn't say that, Boris has a very strong mindset when it comes to actually doing a lot of preventative measures and initial setup process where your business is resilient. And if you have an IT person in your office every other day solving problems, you got a bigger issue. That should not be happening. That's a waste of resources, waste of time, and your people are crying for help. I already know it. Give us a call. We'll help this all out. Sorry, I didn't make a sales pitch, but it's kind of rolled in. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. We hope you have an absolutely awesome experience with your IT provider. And if you don't, give us a call. We're at getarchit.com. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next week.
See you, everyone.